what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for the OPTC video, and in today's video we're rounding out the PvP breakdown videos with the defending video. Now this is a pretty anticipated video for most people because there's a lot of stuff going around for offensive teams and how to sort of take down other teams, but there's not a lot of information out there on defending. Now, defending has been a very nice way to actually get into championship for your blocks, and in today's video, we're going to be focusing on block-based fights. The fights you're going to see in today's video aren't going to be wins by all means, because stereotypically when you're defending, you either want to stall out the opponent, you want HP, bulky, healing, defensive-based units, or you want to bait the enemy into thinking that they've built a team or their team is going to take down yours nicely, and then have some crazy units that can kind of bank on stuff like RNG, come in and go through defense, or just sort of demolish a team and break pieces of their puzzle before they can actually break down yours. So in today's video, we're going to be focusing on the other classes that I didn't touch on in the previous video, but they're going to be focused on defending. Fighters, shooters, and cerebral characters, I don't really think have a place in an offensive lineup. They definitely can do it, but compared to some of the other classes that we spoke about, like slashers, free spirits, and strikers, they just don't really have the prowess of taking down majority of other stuff. And obviously with like type versus type, that obviously works a treat. Driven Powerhouse, that team works exceptionally well. We touched on that in Int. But with Free Spirit, they have a couple of options as well, so they kind of go hand in hand. We'll talk about all those today, but let me know in the comment section below what you guys like to use as a defensive-based build. Most of the time in blocks, you want to run stuff like 4-man or even 5-man teams just to try and bait people into choosing you, because if you lose a bunch of fights with your defensive team, it's nowhere near as effective as if you gain a couple of wins with your defensive team to guarantee yourself a spot in championship without spending as many gems as possible, or any gems at all. Myself right now, I'm sitting in like the top 1500 of Block B. I ranked in the top 1500 for Block A, and I didn't spend a single gem just because I was on top of my timings for PvP, as well as using a good defensive team. I'm actually going to touch on my defensive team that I'm using at the moment, but just be mindful that this video is subject to change depending on stuff like the rule set, stuff like the meta, as well as investment. Obviously, everyone's investment is going to be different, so you might see some fights where these teams might work exceptionally well for me, but don't work exceptionally well for you. And yes, that comes down to stuff like sockets, special charge, tablet investment, like actual level of the character, limit break expansion, all of that stuff comes into play for a character's stats in Rumble. The only thing that doesn't is the support level. So if you have your characters maxed out for your Pirate Rumble levels, your actual levels, sockets, special levels, cotton candy, the list goes on and on and on. So enjoy the video, belt like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. With that said, let's take a look at the teams and let's dive in. So the first team is the shooter team. Now the shooter team kind of came out of nowhere with the 6+ of Chopper, but they have probably one of the best defensive characters in the game, being Frankie. Frankie at level Limit Break 5 is so good when you have 3 units less than the opposition. So the way that I'm sort of structuring this video too, by the way, is this particular team down the bottom here is the team that I'll be using for the video, and then up the top here are some other options. You also have a boa up here as well, this particular boa, which is actually really good for the shooter team, for healing and stuff. But the shooter team is sort of built around Psy and quick-based characters. And the idea of this particular team is you really want to have something like a 5-man build, kind of like what you see here and what I'm actually running down here, and trying to stall out the opposition to get to that 100-second mark and just win purely by them not being able to kill your entire lineup. Now, there are obviously characters that sort of are very good at that, stuff like the Slasher team, Whitebeard Roger specifically, on the Striker or the Slash team that can get through the defensive stuff like shooters. But if people are sort of, the idea of this is to try and bait people into choosing you and then not using those types of builds. Maybe they're thinking, okay, I'll run a bunch of Dex characters because you're running a bunch of quick characters. You might be doing something like Kizaru in the front here. You could have Boa in the front, not be using stuff like the Fire Tanks, or using something like Sop Sop. Or you could bait some people into thinking, oh, they're using a lot of Psy. I'll use stuff like your Rogue or some other characters. Apu not so much because Apu is such a demon, but they could run stuff like the Int team, which is stereotypically a little bit slower, and building up the damage output. And that way you kind of bait the enemy or the opposition into thinking they can get it done. So the idea of shooters is not to defeat the other team, it's literally to just outlast the other team into submission where they get to the point where they just literally can't kill you in the time frame. The Fire Tank Pirates, they are just so incredibly good at that, doing exactly that. They give a level 5 HP buff, defense buff, level 3 attack buff, level 3 to shooters, and then they give level 5 defense to themselves. You can put them in the middle as well, like to take more shots. But they also have level 5 blowout up as well. When HP is like 50%, they restore like a bunch of their own HP and stuff like that. And they just basically don't die. And if they do die, it's stereotypically in like the last 10 seconds, so you're gonna make the opposition sweat anyway. Chopper, he has a fantastic heal. He's built up around shooter characters now with his 6+ level limit break. He's level 6 defense up and level 6 HP. Frankie, as I mentioned, if you're below 3 units below the opposition, he's going to give level 10 defense. Level 10 with his special, which is crazy. He gives like a bunch of HP to shooters as well. Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, they're okay. They're there mainly for their defensive buff. And then Sop is great because they can special bind and then they can halve stats as well. Other really good units you have on the team are Ace and Kuzan. Like I said, the team's built up around sort of quick and size, so Kuzan works well. But these particular characters are more offensive characters as well. So Kizaru, he's a pretty offensive-based character, but you could easily just slide him onto the bench. Run a bit of a 6-man team if you're worried about like your investment and stuff like that. But like I said, the idea here is to get people to actually click on your teams. And if you're running stuff like 6-man, over 5-man teams, most of the time people will kind of scroll past them just because they don't want to fall into that trap of RNG and that having that RNG imbalance take them out. So as you can see, we timed them out. They didn't kill any of our units, and if this was an actual fight at a very chunky strength build with King on it, like we did very, very well. So the next class team is actually Fighters. Now, Fighters are very much littered with strength and psi-based units. Now, you have the team that I'm showcasing is a powerhouse fighter-based hybrid build. And the idea of this build is actually to try and catch people out into thinking that they are going to be able to take us out very easily with stuff like Quick. But you have a lot of ignoring defense with stuff like King, Who's Who, healing with Marco and Katakuri, and then the absolute damage powerhouse that Ulti can provide. Now, you can run this team in a very, very different ways. You can put Jack on the team here and then sort of just drop Marco and just like increase your bulk, have some HP cuts here. And like I said, the idea of this team is to try to catch out the opposition to thinking, all right, sweet, we're just going to like tear through them with stuff like a Kainu. Maybe they might use stuff like Sugar. Sugar kind of is a little bit more scary than a Kainu for this particular build because of the CD reduction. But namely, people would run stuff like a Kainu in the front lines of their driven, quick team. And even with Izokiku as well, like this particular team can operate very, very nicely. Because as long as you get your specials off first, you actually have the opportunity to take down a Kainu. You can actually kill a Kainu. You can even kill stuff like Sugar sometimes, depending on how fast and the RNG reliance that you actually have. Now, this team is one of those RNG teams that I spoke about. Even though it is a 5-man team, you can easily just bring in some other characters on the bench. You could run King on the bench and then bring Jack into the front lines if you want to run that 6-man team that I spoke about earlier. But you also have some options here with Sai and just sort of building the whole team outside. So you have a couple of different options with the fighter build, but if you are coming up against it, be mindful that the team is not only very tanky, but it has a lot of damage output with these characters, like I said, like Who's Who and King especially, that go through defense. Katakuri in the middle just keeps himself alive, and Ulti has a bunch of damage output that she can provide too. So the team does really, really well, and as you can see, it tears through the master quick-driven team very, very quickly. So that was the 5-man team doing bits. Fighters can actually do serious damage. The other option that you might come up against with Fighters is people might run int against you. If you're trying to build out the team with a few more Psy units, or maybe even you're just running the team that I'm running and they see a bunch of Psy characters there and they're running something like a Poo, and they're thinking, oh yeah, sweet, I'm just going to be able to take out these core healing units, and then the rest of the team will just crumble because there's no defensive capabilities. Well, that's not always the case either. So allowing Katakuri to go so early not only does so much damage, but all the damage he takes, he basically heals back. So you want to put him in the middle slot. And then Marco boosts Psy and Powerhouse. So Marco's giving the level 5 defense to Powerhouse characters, which this whole team is. Plus he's giving the HP buff to Katakuri. As for the rest of the characters, Who's Who is buffing Powerhouse by level 5 HP and defense. Ulti's buffing Fighters by level 6 HP. And then King is giving HP buff to Fighters as well. So whilst you don't have a lot of defense on this team, level 10's not too bad for how you're rocking. You have a lot of HP, like a butt ton of HP, especially Katakuri and Marco. So you can tank those shots fairly nicely and then just get a lot of damage output with the characters that just go through defense, like I said. If you guys don't have stuff like King, or you haven't really invested in Who's Who, because he's not really a character you invest in terms of your attacking prowess, you can easily run these particular characters here. You can just bring like Jinbei into the lineup. You can bring Luffy into the lineup. You just run Jack like in this middle slot as well, and you can just go like full tanky like bulk build. But as you can see, if King and Who's Who get their specials off, you just do so much damage that catching an opposition out and just seeing their whole team get wiped is just such like a damn, I fucked up kind of moment. But this one here, like I said, this one will see more losses than wins, because obviously you do need RNG to go your way for it to be so reliable. But nevertheless, fighters, they were a lot of fun. I just think they work better as a defensive team than as sort of an offensive build. Now, the last class we're going to talk about is actually Cerebral. Now, Cerebral have been one of the most bulkiest defensive teams going around for God knows how long. And they've always just been built up around healing and just staying alive by having so much defense and just healers to the shithouse. Stuff like Chopper, stuff like Shiroshi Mancherry, they all work exceptionally well. Now with the addition of stuff like CatDog and Carrot Wanda, you can get some more healing shenanigans there. The 6+ of Shanks Crew is also an incredibly bulky unit as well. You can easily run them over Super Tandem Shanks. I would probably recommend that just for more bulk and HP cuts. But this particular team is another one that not only sort of like stays alive, but has a lot of damage output at the back end of the fight. It obviously has to worry about stuff like Wife Did Roger and characters that go through defense, but you have a lot of healing to sort of get yourself back up. And as you guys will see here with Chopper, as long as you get your specials popping off at the right time, you basically can either stall some teams out, or you can finish them off within the back 30 seconds of a fight. Having stuff like Neko and Inu, having stuff like Shanks and Uta's damage output allows you to basically take down enemies within the last 30 seconds because they get that level 10 defense, and you basically just catch yourself alive until that particular point. Whether you're running stuff like Rayleigh for defense or Shanks Crew in the middle for more defense, or you're using something like Shiroshi Mancherry for the extra heal, you can do really, really good stuff with the Cerebral team. There's also another interesting build that goes around with Int Cerebral. In Cerebral with stuff like Sengoku, Uta, Reiju, I think Pudding's on that team as well, and then using something like Crocus. It is a very, very annoying build to not only sort of stall out the opposition, but you can just heal, and you have a lot more damage than what the enemy actually anticipates as well. So that's another build as well, but like I didn't really have a chance to showcase that. I was trying to put it together, but I couldn't really showcase it too well on any of these challenge fights. So I just wanted to sort of showcase something that looked nice for the video as well. But that team can see play, and is not a terrible team if you want to run that sort of more of your int-centric-y stuff. That's not like your int-driven, because int-driven Powerhouse is so intimidating to see that if you see that sort of int Cerebrally build, it's kind of a bit softer to look at. It's a lot of characters you probably have never seen before in terms of how they operate, and you might think that you have a way to get around them, or your opposition might think you have a way to get around them, when really they don't. So as you can see, we're in the back 30 seconds now. We've lost all that level 10 defense, but we've got more HP than the opposition, and now we have our characters going off with all the damage output that they can provide. Shiroshi Mancherry, they're giving level 3 defense, and they're healing as well. I don't even think I've maxed out that character either. And then Shanks is just bringing back our defense as well, which works amazingly in the last 30 seconds as well. But Shanks Crew, with what they provide, they're also a very, very good option. If you guys use Rayleigh as well, Rayleigh can just do fixed damage. If you don't have Neko Inu 6+, you can use the Pyro Rumble Rare Recruit. Neko, it's another really, really good option too. So the in-cerebral sort of build that I was talking about looks a little bit like this. You can use like Om in the front for half stats. You have like healing capabilities with Komurasaki, with Reiju and Chopper, and then Pudding just keeps your specials coming back. After sort of like a bunch of time as well, I'm pretty sure your defense does go. Does the defense specials go up? Yeah. So Reiju does defense. Special of Om not only halves that, but gives CT reduction for Psy. So if people think, oh, I'm just going to run Psy against you, you have Om for that sort of nerfing capabilities. You have Guard with Chopper. You have more healing with Komurasaki. And then Pudding basically gets back your specials. You have options with, like this Sengoku is really, really good with his level limit break. Marco is another really, really good healer. Is also doing damage as well when you're below 50%. He also inflicts level 5 defense down. But the idea here is Reiju gives you a fixed healing over time, as well as doing increased damage to the enemy. So that works exceptionally well. It's sort of just like chipping away at the opposition. You have Uta if you want some more damage output as well. You can easily run Uta instead of something like Pudding, as Uta's damage output can sort of chip away at pieces of the puzzle, plus give CT buff as well instead of something like Pudding. I put her on the bench here just because, like, I wanted to sort of showcase Pudding a little bit more. But her damage output is nothing to scoff at. Plus, that level 5 CT buff that she gives just helps out so much when it comes to getting back other unit specials. Namely, stuff like Rayleigh to give, like, defensive buffs. More to get healing with Chopper and Neko Inu if you're running that sort of build. But you can also get that healing from stuff like Komurasaki. So, depending on what you're running with Cerebral, it works exceptionally well. There is another really, really good int character that I do want to touch on. It's a Sengoku unit. He works exceptionally well. This one right here. He's a free-to-play character, so if you're looking for like another really, really good option for defensive teams, this guy can actually heal a lot too, and he gives level 5 guard. The healing is 15%, so it's not like a fixed healing. It's just like if you build out a bulky-ass team, this particular Sengoku is just always going to heal back 15% of your HP. But all in all, like this particular Cerebral team you're seeing here is more of the offensive-centric build. Because once you get to, like, the idea of this build is to sort of get down to the last 30 seconds, have Super Tandem Shanks go to just replenish that level 10 defense so you don't have to worry about it, and then you're just back to a really good spot where the opposition is in a really bad spot. But you have to survive to that point for that to work, and these other options work great defensively. Final part of the video is actually the Free Spirit-centric part. Now, I touched on this in the intro, but Free Spirit have options at running defense because at the moment they are sort of featured for 9th anniversary. Now, once upon a time, this particular defensive team you see here was running absolute riot with the RNG of the Yamato Odin combination as well as Straw Hat Crew. Now, I've always said in Rumble, and I've kind of made it like a law, that whenever I use Psy, it just never works to my advantage, but whenever I verse Psy, they get the perfect RNG and they absolutely decimate my team. And the way this team actually operates is you have Straw Hat Crew V2, pop their special off, you haste to everyone because they're free spirits, and then Yamato, Odin, Roger, they all go crazy. In early blocks as well, if you want to be really brazy as well, you can literally just do this and just run a 4-man team. This way you're getting a lot more like baits, and a lot more people are actually fighting you, and you can increase the chance of that RNG just popping off against oppositions. Especially if your investment's a lot higher than what other people see, and they see a 4-man team, usually they're going to jump at it and think, oh sick, I've got this in the bag. But like 7 out of 10 times, the RNG could kick in your favor, make the fight either very, very close, or basically just get the win. If you guys are using Roger here, like I'm showing in this particular clip, he gives a lot of extra stats. He also gives a lot of extra nerfing as well. His fixed damage can be very helpful. But another one that I have been seeing running around a lot in Block A, Block B, and Block C is just, especially whilst they're buffed at the moment with their like crazy stats, is this particular build right here. It's literally just the 3 anniversary characters, and like with Zora's defense, the damage output that Luffy Yamato can do, and then the CT reduction of Sanji. If you get to the last 50 seconds and Luffy Yamato goes off, like you can just wipe the whole team. And like I said, if your investment is higher than most other people with like sockets and stuff, and some new people are coming to the game and they don't really know what they're looking at, and they see this, they'll think, all right, sweet, 3 units, I've got 8, surely I can get the win, and you just like bink them down. It's pretty crazy to see. But Psy Free Spirit is still a thing in defense, so if you guys do see it, just remember that the RNG factor is a thing, and if they get Straw Hat Crew to pop off at the perfect time while everyone else's special's ready, you're in for a really rough time with that Yamato Odin combination. And finally, we're going to take a look at the team that I use for defense, and it's another Free Spirit build. It's a quick Free Spirit-centric build, and the idea of the team is it's so tanky that it can outlast the Dex team. When it comes to defending, ideally, you want to get in the opposition's head of thinking, or your own head of thinking, what would I use to take down this particular team? Now, Dex moves incredibly slowly if you run Doflamingo in the back and you don't bring him into the front lines. Now, most people have caught on to that. They run Dofi in the front, and a lot of people don't run a lot of anti-quick anymore because most of the time, something like Verse Yamato, something like Dalton, something like one Cat Viper will basically do the job for you. This particular team, however, not the case. You need a lot of anti-quick to take this down, and it can easily outlast the 100 seconds if the opposition doesn't have a lot of offensive power in the front. Now, the idea of it is to catch people out that use Dofi in the back, so that way they think, all right, sick, no worries, I've got damage output, but they never see their Doflamingo come in because you never actually kill anything on the team. So this 5-man team works exceptionally well in the early blocks, and the way I'm running it, I run it like this. I actually just don't use this Luffy, and I just run the team like this, and it works exceptionally well. Like, each block, I'm getting like 25 defense wins with this particular team. Even in that top 1,000 or 2,000. Now, my investment is crazy. 150, 120, limit break expanded, 150, 150. But, like, if your investment isn't as good as mine, you can easily just, like I said, bring Luffy in the front, the Red Rock Luffy, and you will be absolutely hunky-dory. This Luffy gives so much HP to himself, as well as the team with his 6+. Did he get a level limit break expansion? I don't think he did. I think he just got a 6+. But basically, he gives level 6 buff, HP buff to the crew, and then 6 to himself. He's giving level 12 HP buff. Like, 25 HP is ridiculous. On top of that, every time Frankie goes with his level of rank 5, he's giving 10 defense. Zora's giving himself guard. He's provoking the attacks. He's throwing out counters. And then Boa and Robin are just healing on the outskirts, as well as reducing CD as well, which is just so ridiculous. On top of that, you apply a level 1 CT buff to Quick with Boa every time that she heals, which is just so nice at popping off your special, your special, your special again and again and again to just keep that ability going. You also have haste with Luffy. If you get the RNG factor, you just proc some haste, you can pop a Boa special, reduce the cooldowns, and you just outlast like Dex teams to the shithouse. Now, it is beatable. Obviously, you need to run stuff like Cat Dog combination, Kizaru, Moria, Dalton, versus Yamato, Blackbeard. Those types of characters work exceptionally well. But for people that aren't using them and they see something like this, they might only just use Blackbeard and think, yeah, I've got this in the bag, and it's just not meant to be because this team is so goddamn tanky. Other options you can run, you can easily bring this Invincov. The free-to-play one is an exceptional unit. The level 12 attack down debuff is disgusting, and it reduces the damage output even further. Uta gives 10% CD as well as haste guaranteed to one unit. And then you got Smoothie as well. Whilst these two aren't free spirits, they work exceptionally well because you get haste and you can get CT reduction and buffs for yourself. But that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys like to run for your defensive builds. And if I glossed over anything that is very important, I'll pin the comment down below. Most importantly, though, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.